Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Blueprint Podcast. I am hanging out today with McKena Harless, the founder of True North Strategies out of beautiful Granbury, Texas.
That's right.
I love Granbury. I love the little downtown area. I know you and I have talked about it. We've spent a lot of time in Pecan Plantation. We had some friends that live there. So it's a great area. Hot area.
Yes. I'm at the time of this recording, I'm pregnant. I'm hoping in a few weeks when you share this, I'm no longer pregnant. But people have asked me if I'm hotter now that I'm pregnant. And I'm like, it's Texas. I'm always hot.
The next level is spontaneously combust. And then that's a whole nother problem.
Yes.
Good. Well, appreciate you coming and hanging out a little bit. And so McKena and I were hanging out at the event my wife put on, the Power Profit Workshop. And so I really got to learn more about your business. And obviously, I know I've known you for a lot of years. I've known your dad for a lot of years. I'm sure most people listening know Tom Peregrino is McKena's dad. And you guys are kind of becoming this powerhouse father-daughter team, which is really exciting to watch and see and play a small part in it. But yeah, I wanted you to come on today and let's talk a little bit about True North and what is it that you guys do to help home service businesses really move the needle and crush it as they get into their season of growth. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been really fun as I got to see Josh Hembry at the show and then just getting to talk to more of my contractor vendor friends over the last couple weeks as True North has been growing. And it's just so fun to see like you and Kristen, for example. I mean, I remember when y'all came out with your book and you were just kind of moving into this space of like mentorship and coaching. And then now to see and participate in a whole show that Kristen gets to put on as she's built her remote CFO empire. And so it's just so cool. And I'm so grateful to have friends like y'all that are just like helping other contractors and growing. And it's been really, really fun to see everybody just take this gifts and skills and just go and help other contractors.
It is a lot of fun. And there's so many times where we kind of sit down and think about what is something we want to work on. And it's interesting because I always go, what did I need in that part of my journey? Because that's it. Like I always think about, for me, finding a best practice group, Service Nation was a big win for me, but it took me 10 years. I didn't even know what that was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know what a best practice group was. And that's just kind of the start of the foundation of making sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that can help you drive the business and move it forward.
Absolutely.
So some things that some people may not know about you is that you've grown up in the trades. Is that right?
That is right. So my mom had just had my sister, and so she and I are 16 months apart. So let's say I was about 2 years old, and my dad was working at a bank in a Walmart here in Granbury. And he came home to my mom and he said, I quit my job and I'm going to go 100% sales commission at an air conditioning company. Keep in mind, he had never done anything like that ever before in his life. And my mom had transitioned to be a stay-at-home mom because they had 2 kids now. And so once she recovered from the shock, because he's always been very entrepreneurial and sales minded. So he did, to his credit, very, very well when he went. And then as many contractors do, they're working for somebody else. They'd rather run it differently. So he was approached by another technician at that company. And he said, hey, I'm thinking about starting my own thing. You want to come along with me? And so they started an air conditioning company together here, DAF and Cooling and Heating. So it's a family name for them. And he came on as the sales manager. And then over the years, just moved his way up and up to where I would say about after 10 years, he was more like in the GM role. And that's when he bought the company. And then for the next 10 years, he just ran it. And when he sold it to his current partner, I always like to specify that because people think private equity, but he sold it to the guy that he was working with at the time as his service manager. And at the time, they were at 8 million in revenue. And so from there, he went to go work at Service Nation as their president. So yeah, it was always it's still humorous, to see the path that God leads you on because as a kid, I just have very vivid memories of going to the office and it smells like gasoline and oil and there's just these like men there that are tall and kind of scary and some of them are a little rough looking. They don't say the cleanest words. Um, but I remember my sister and I had a great time cleaning off all the whiteboards in their conference room, and then we'd go and like cover my dad's desk in sticky notes that said things like "I love you" and uh, "Hope you have a good poop," like just to make things that make him laugh and stuff like that. But it was never the intention in my mind as I grew up to go work there because I just perceived it as being this very blue collar, rough place. And then you also have your pride and ego as an 18-year-old thinking, who wants to move back home and all that. I'm going to go work for some really cool company. And so lo and behold, I graduated my degrees in marketing and he just so happened, and again, it's all God's timing in hindsight, but he had a position there at the office to help out the marketing director. And so I kind of came on as like her assistant and then grew as you do at a small business into many different roles. But yeah, I got to see it from like I say, like the perspective growing up of like the dinner table of seeing him have to get up to go take phone calls. We have a lot of family pictures of summer vacations that he's not in because he had to go work at the office. Listening to phone calls in the car while we're driving to church in the morning, we putting out fires, and then getting to go work like in the actual trenches with him for 4 years was just another deeper perspective, right? So yeah, it was just an interesting transition, I would say, from childhood to adulthood. So
Well, and that's pretty cool though, because and the trades have changed a lot in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, 20 years ago, marketing, the marketing space was more about, I'm guessing when I say this, so feel free to correct me, but more about, how big's your yellow page ad and what local event are you going to go to? Maybe a mailer or two, but certainly the internet wasn't a big part. Well, 20 years ago, definitely wasn't a big part of it. But there's certainly been a bigger shift and a bigger part that all of that marketing plays now in our business.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And to see, I'll say like, and I try and describe it to my friends who are working here, they're teachers or they're working remotely for a bank or so, it's how do you describe to them the secret hidden world that is the home service industry now? That you have these entire conferences like Service Titan does with Pantheon or Service World Expo. Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
describe to them this network that's now been created of contractors pursuing a higher level with their businesses than what was traditional? And so once I got in that, when I started working for my dad, because he would talk about, oh, John and Vicky LaPlante from Service Nation, or oh, I got to go to this networking event in Vegas. But I had no concept. Again, I'm just thinking like it's silly old dad. And then once I got involved and just saw this whole world, I love it. It's so much fun.
So one of the things we did in Paradise is as we were growing the business, you got to have the spouse buy-in, right? Like you got to have the spouse buy-in. And so one of the things we did at one of the service worlds is we invited all of our leadership team and all of their spouses, and we thought it was more of a camaraderie thing that we would have, But man, we left that event and so many of the spouses, some of the even leaders in the team, but especially the spouses were like, I had no idea this was like an industry.
Yeah.
Like it was just this really cool shift that happened. Cause sometimes it's easy to, it's easy to overlook the fact that this is a really, really awesome industry. And there's a lot of really smart people that are in this space as well.
No, absolutely. And that's something I encourage my clients too is for them to clearly articulate and cast vision for their team for what could be. If they start out as an install helper and you're not talking to them about, hey, if the business grows, then here's where you can go next when we hit this amount and here when we get this many trucks and yeah, giving them that larger vision for the potential because we've done that in like the corporate world. You can see, oh, I started as like a CSR at a corporation and then I move up to office manager and then CFO of something is like the end goal. And you can see that clearly articulated versus in the trades, an install helper might think he's stuck being an install helper for the rest of his life because he doesn't know the potential of what could be. So, so yeah, no, I think that's
Yep.
a really good idea. Somebody write that down.
Write that down. That's fine. We have it recorded. We're good. So let's talk a little bit about True North. So, what was the inspiration? What's the goal? Give us the skinny. Give us the scoop.
For the most part, this last year has just been me just like holding on to my armchair. It's just like this whole business has been driven forward very organically. Because once my dad sold the business and I've been introduced to this whole secret world of home services, I had gotten to know a lot of contractors through networking and that's when Crystal Williams started Lemon Seed Marketing, and she and I had become friends just through AB80 with Service Nation, um, and so I had reached out to her just to see, hey, what's out there? What are you doing? Tell me more. And she invited me to come along with her at Lemon Seed, and so worked with her for a couple years, and then you have a baby, which changes, like your whole perspective on life. And so I went to go work for a digital agency. And part of that reasoning in my mind was, I love the marketing for the home services. I love helping contractors up with their business. But the biggest thing, especially in marketing, that you get a lot of questions about is the digital side, like you talked about, this digital growth that we've experienced over the last years is totally wild. And it's hard to comprehend, especially as a contractor who's never had to deal with that before. And so I wanted to go work in the trenches so that when I'm getting questions as a marketing expert about SEO and PPC and Google ads and what's a GBP and what does this acronym stand for and how do I know I'm getting the return that I wanted to be able to speak from a place of, hey, been there, done that. I get that it sucks, but I can help you because I've been there. And
Yeah.
so just kind of took this hiatus of being a mom, getting to focus on that, while at the same time just building up my marketing arsenal with this digital information. But what I couldn't help myself with is I'd be on these calls as an account manager where technically the lane that I'm supposed to stay in on these calls, these biweekly calls, is the digital marketing. Let's talk about SEO, PPC, all the things. But when my contractor's like, well, I'm not getting the conversion rate that I thought that I would. Well, just
Yeah.
through organic conversation, I know that they don't have any other branding out there. They've just invested all of their marketing money into Google and they don't know why it's not
Just
working.
paying Google. Yep.
Yeah. I know why it's not working, but they don't. And
Right.
so I would just end up talking to them about the larger marketing strategy. Like, hey, it won't hurt my feelings. It might hurt my boss's feelings, but it won't hurt my feelings if you take some money from PPC and you go put it into a radio ad or a direct mail campaign or even just community involvement. And so I would end up getting calls from my clients just asking me various questions and really just started feeling this like call back to the larger marketing strategy side of the business. But at the same time, I'm just nervous because I still feel young. I'm only 30. And so I'm like, can I really help? Struggling with imposter syndrome and just
Which, by the way, and I'm sure you know this, everybody has that,
okay.
right?
Makes it feel
Everybody
better.
has that at some point. So you're definitely not alone. I can remember starting the podcast, that being a big hang up. Like that held me up for 6 months to get started, was that whole thing. Is like, do I have enough to talk about? Do I,
Yes.
so imposter syndrome is a thing. And I would say if somebody doesn't have it, there might be some narcissism they might
Yeah.
want to work on.
You may need to work on something else.
Yeah.
Well, and just to carry on with that for just a second is, everybody jokes about everybody starting a podcast now. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well,
Yeah.
do I need to start a podcast? Why do we have so many podcasts? And I think the reality is that we've all been given a circle of influence to some degree, whether it's just locally in your town, whether it's in your family. But to y'all, for those that are networking and in these larger best practice groups and stuff like that, your circle of influence is larger, but it might be
Yeah.
different than another podcaster that maybe is going to speak on the same topic, but they've just connected with people differently because of their personality. And so that's just what I had to tell myself at some point is my circle of influence is going to be different than another marketing agency's
Yep.
because maybe they're in a different best practice group or they just have a different personality. So they're meshing with different types of people. They have a larger business goal. So they're going after a different demographic. So there's a circle of influence that we all have to some degree that I think we can speak to. And so just being confident with that um, is, I think, what gives people a platform, to speak to. So yeah, I just prayed, going back to kind of my journey with True North, prayed about it. One of my clients at the time at the digital agency said, hey, I would really love to work with you on a larger scale. And so I put together a contract, um, presented it to him over the phone while I was driving. And I thought, I'll price this higher so that, it's worth my time because I'll be doing this in my off time. He's probably going to say no. And I didn't get but halfway through the proposal.
Like, bring
He
it.
was like, let's do it. When can you come on? And so from then it really was crazy once I got the word out there about what I was doing and why I was doing it, just the immediate organic clients that I was getting and because really my heart for True North is, like I said, I know that those contractors are in the same place that my dad was in, where they're taking
Mm-hmm.
phone calls after hours, they're putting out fires all day long, they're taking time away from their family or their passions to run this business. And then at night, maybe they're listening to a podcast about marketing. They're like, shoot, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. But who has the time? And so they're just racked with guilt and anxiety because they don't know where they're going to fit that on their plate. And so I like to say, like, it's my honor and my purpose is to take that off your plate so that you can have like a little less anxiety, ideally, because you're in good hands. So
Well, and it's easy to get that, analysis paralysis kind of thing where, you get on and you start reading some things you should do, or somebody makes a post about this thing they're doing that's working so great, and they immediately go to just duplicating that, which is fine to do that in some cases,
yeah,
but sometimes you have to know the whole story. Like, there's a whole journey that happened besides that one tiny piece. And if you just jump on that one tiny piece, you might have missed the 90 steps that happened in order to have the success as well.
no, absolutely. I wish there was like an AI feature that
There will be.
if a contractor shares advice on marketing beforehand, it needs to have like a brief summary about the demographics of their city and the
Right.
demographics of their office and what revenue they're at and what CRM just all these like basic information that, to your point, really does play a huge factor in why what they're doing is working for them. And
Right.
so Because like I know I have one client in Minnesota that we joke their service area is like a best practice virgin because he got his trucks wrapped and his revenue just skyrocketed because
I know exactly who you're talking about.
shout out to my boy Ryan at Grove.
Yeah.
But nobody had ever done truck wraps before. And so for
Yeah.
him to just do a truck wrap was enough. So if he got on some Service Nation or, some marketing mastermind Facebook group and was like, get your truck wrap, that might not necessarily work for everybody to just be the one solution for them to pursue. And then I have a guy in Shreveport who's just fighting for his life because it's a more metro market. And so he's got a beautiful truck wrap, but he's having to do a lot more work at a lot higher cost than my buddy in rural Minnesota. So, yeah.
Yeah. Time in business obviously plays a big part of that. Who your customer is. I think that's one thing that I know you guys help with your clients with is everybody's not your customer. And I think a lot of times business owners get wrapped up in, oh yeah, everybody's my customer. No, man, everybody's not your customer, and it's okay to say no to them, just like it's okay for them to say no to you. But I think that's cool that you guys help them get to that point.
Yes. I asked a contractor who was interested in working with us because he said that his major pain point for marketing was he felt like he'd maxed out on his service area, that he'd reached max market share. So I sit down with him and I'm like, okay, tell me more about this, because where you are located, and what your revenue size is, you should have more opportunities. So I'm like, what's your target demographic? And he said, well, I heard this one time from my dad actually, that it's really good to go after those that have pools at their house. And I'm like, okay, anything else? No, we're just going after houses with pools. And so I'm like, okay. Have you calculated the market share formula that you can do to calculate if you've reached your maximum market share? No, but I can just feel that we've maxed out. So that's what we do. We do want to have is that laser focus, because I remember even as a kid, you'd have a competitor's truck pass, and we'd jokingly we'd be like, shh, like
We'd bark
hexing
at them.
them. And I'd get so mad if we lost somebody to a competitor, and I'd go in my dad's office just raging, especially when I started working for them. And he said, there's somebody for everybody. You've got your Whole Foods, which is like top tier clients, and then you've got your let's say like your Walmart, and then you've got your local, like we have Berkshires here, Albertsons, King Supers, and then you've got like your Dollar General people. Like there's somebody for everybody, but to your point, you just have to figure out who your somebody is and make sure that your marketing is aligning with that. So,
Yeah, very good. So from a chief marketing officer space, it's my belief that every business needs someone playing that role. I'm assuming you would agree with me on that.
absolutely.
And Chris and I talk about this a lot, and we've talked about it on the podcast. It's the same with with a chief financial officer. You have to have one in every business. The trick is every business can't afford an expert in that space. And I think you guys do a pretty good job of filling that void of allowing the expertise, but not, costing a fraction of what it would cost to hire someone full time. So what does it look like to work with True North?
Yeah. So I would say two things. So we've recently here, and I'll give a little context, changed our strategy for True North Strategies. Initially, when I started it, my goal was, let me just manage all of your marketing services. So when you look at your marketing load, you're gonna think of things like we talked about: your digital vendors, your direct mail, your billboards, your printed collateral, all of those little tasks and to-dos. And so that's largely what I focused on when I started, is let me just take all of those services and those tasks off of your plate of managing all of your vendor partners and managing all these marketing to-dos. Because a lot of contractors have a lot of ideas. They know what they want to do for their marketing, Or maybe they have like a general vision for it, but it's the actual doing of
Right.
the marketing tasks.
The
So that I would
execution.
say, I would tell somebody, think of your marketing to-do list that keeps you up at night. Give it to me and I will get it all done. So just like you would envision with an in-office marketing director, anything that you would hand to her or him, anything that you would ask them or give task out to them, delegate to them, that's what I'll do. So really honing in on those managed marketing services pieces and the vendor management. So that's what I started at. But as my dad's working with Service Nation, he's working with contractors on the consulting, operational coaching side. I'm working more in the managed marketing services side. We'd come together for dinner at night and I would just vocalize, man, it's so hard because these contractors are coming to me and I've got a killer marketing strategy built out for them. We started with a budget. We're making sure that we're meeting that budget every month. I'm monitoring their revenue, doing all sorts of data analytics to make sure that they're growing month over month. So I'm fully CMO rocking it out. But there's only so much that I can control, especially because there's really only in the contractor's mind so much control that they have given me, which is like, you, McKena, your lane that you stay in is marketing. So when they come to me and they're like, hey, my PPC is not working. Well, we've been on these weekly, bi-weekly, monthly calls, and I know that the real problem is not the PPC. So I'll tell them, hey, I did a diagnosis, met with your digital vendor to see if they could pinpoint any problems. It's really not your PPC. What it is when your CSR answers the phone, she doesn't know when to book your equipment specialist to come out. So she's calling them back 24 hours later and they've already gone with somebody else.
Yep.
So you really should probably work on that. And then that's where I would leave it because that's really all they wanted. They just wanted to complain to me that they weren't getting the lead volume or the revenue that they wanted. They wanted me to fix it. I did the best that I could to fix it, but I can only control so much.
You're not answering the phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I would give them the advice, but I really didn't have any authority with how I presented myself in the beginning to do any more, to push them any further.
Right.
So as I became pregnant with my second child, my dad is helping more and more contractors on the operational coaching side. He really started to evaluate, like, he loves, it's humorous how much he loves being a grandpa. We call him Pops. My daughter eats an endless amount of Welch's fruit snacks and watches all the shows that she could ever dream about watching, and they go and do all those fun things. So he's like, man, you're making really great kids. I'm having a really fun time helping these contractors. How can I free up some more time to go do what I love doing best? So he started talking about transitioning out of Service Nation. I'm vocalizing all these frustrations about really wanting to get my hands in the operational side of my client's business, but really not having the ability to. So that's where I'll say True North 2.0 has now given birth. Is we've continued, we're still specializing in the managed marketing services, but now we're adding a layer.
Yep.
So when my potential clients come to me and they say, hey, I need marketing help, what we do first and foremost is it's almost like a blood work exam. So we're going to do a diagnosis. We're going to take all your blood. We're going to test it against what we know are like the 6 basic marketing pillars of best practices. So we're looking at your digital because that's what everybody wants to look at first. Where's your traditional marketing at? Your guerrilla marketing, your customer, when was the last time you spoke to your existing customers? What's the client like with your team? The climate like with your team?
Yep.
Where's your branding at? So we're going to run an analysis of all 6 of those assessments that we'll send to our contractors. And then we come to them with like a very comprehensive assessment that says, hey, here's how you're scoring on all 6 of these things. And it may not necessarily lead to they have a big marketing problem that they need to solve. There might be some things that we can help out with. Like I need to, obviously get their digital vendor to hold them more accountable They don't have any yard signs. They don't have any systems and processes for how they're going to get their technicians to hang door hangers. They don't have a community involvement strategy. So I'll work on, again, those marketing managed services, building a strong brand, managing their vendor partners. But also, we're going to ask questions like, how frequently are you meeting with your team throughout the
Right.
week? What's their average ticket? What's your sales closing rate? Um, and I mean, you could easily go on and on about
Yeah, for sure.
the operational higher up pieces of marketing that we very frequently ignore because as a contractor, you're just trying to tick off the boxes and really the only like mental energy and focus that you can give it is at a very basic level. But to your point, if you hire at True North, we can take it up a couple notches because you're not hiring an in-office person who has background in maybe marketing, but it's for like a boutique or it's for a hotel. And now you're going to have to spend, I mean, sometimes like a whole year just training them on the nuances of the home service industry. So, how to work your CRM, what is a condenser? What is the dispatcher doing when they're booking calls? And what does this mean, this lead call volume goal that we're trying to reach? And so instead, you call me, and within like a month, I'm in your CRM at an admin level, looking at all of your reporting. And you hire, for me, my experience, I can do marketing, I can do public relations, we can do community involvement. You want a cultural like ambassador that's going to help you build a whole company community involvement plan. So you hire all those people just on the managed marketing services side. And now you're going to hire my dad, who is my COO now, and he has all, over 20 years of experience in all the things. So do you want an operational coach? You want a sales coach? You want a service manager coach? Any coaching, you want just like a life coach, Tom will do it. And so just being able to say, hey, we want to take ownership of not just the to-do list, but also the strategy and the operational holistic side and just get that freaking rocking and rolling in all those basic marketing pillars. So
That is fantastic.
that's like the
That's
first time I've
great.
articulated this like on a podcast. Like I said, this is very new. I
Yeah, you
joke.
guys haven't. Well, I guess at the time we air this, it'll be officially announced, but you guys haven't really officially announced this yet. So
Well, and very Tom,
this could be your official announcement.
that's true. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you let me know when this is going to air, and we can come up with a whole launch plan around it. Uh, because I joke, because my dad and I really haven't gotten to work together in probably in 4 years, and so I forget that when he gets an idea, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
So we started talking about this at dinner one night, and then he's like, "Okay, now we got to do this. Now we got to do this," and so I've said, I'm giving birth to a baby July 17th, but in the meantime, I'm giving birth to this next level of my business.
Yeah.
So it's been busy, but it's also been super, super exciting because as we've shared it with my clients and with other contractor friends, you can see how perfectly it's filling this need that's very much there that contractors haven't been able to fill because to your point, they know they need to do marketing, but to hire an in-office person really grows the overhead. And what
Right.
ends up happening is the same thing that we did at Daffin. So you hire an in-office marketing person, but there's not necessarily enough marketing to keep them busy for 40 hours a week. And so then they end up being the office manager, or they end up being the CSR manager, or they're doing like the service titan technical stuff. And so they're trying to
And
fill
quickly that falls to the back.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens. And that's why they had to hire me at Daffin, is because the office managerial stuff ended up taking higher priority than the marketing because it's a lot different when you have a CSR coming to you crying because the girl sitting next to her hurt her feelings or a customer yelled at her or whatever versus the postcard that's sitting in your inbox that you're supposed to be approving at the time. And so yeah, so it was my job to come in and help her because these other jobs were taking priority just out of a sense of urgency. So
Yeah, that's part of the challenge is being proactive, right? So as a small business owner, that is the challenge is we tend to live in this world of reactiveness versus proactive, and marketing is a lot of times it is a reactive It's the same as recruiting, right? It's like this reactive thing that we do versus this proactive. So the postcard is not a fire they got to put out now. Man, that's gonna be 3 weeks till I see an ROI on that. So that can wait. And it's like, well, every day you wait, that's 3 more weeks versus being proactive about it and going, hey, this has got to get done and we got to get going.
yes. Well, and to contractors' credit as a business owner, they have a set of skills. And again, like some of them are the more creative. So they have the ideas, they just need somebody to do them. But a lot of them are very technical. They're very black and white. I speak in disc profile language. So like
Yeah.
they're high C's, high D's, where they're just very technically minded. And so they can't exercise those capabilities of being able to do more training with the technicians or being able to look at more of the numbers of the their P&L statements because they're too busy managing either the people or the marketing. And so again, that's where I say, hey, like I want you to have more bandwidth to be able to manage what you're good at
Right.
versus having to do, what you're not good at and what you hate, which is usually why it also ends up getting pushed to the wayside because they're like, I really don't want to have to hop on a meeting
Right.
with or meet with the billboard salesman that wants to stop by the office. So I'll just keep pushing that. But then they look up and they're midway through the summer and they're slow and they're wondering why. So
Yep. So how would somebody go about connecting with you if they want to find out more and hopefully work with you?
I know. I want to help so many people. I'll say this too, because I was thinking about this morning is the value of viewing your business as a ministry just really changes your whole perspective. Even if you're not a believer, right? For me, like this is what I feel like God has called me to is to use these skills that he's given me to help contractors. But as a contractor, like your business and even a business owner, you don't have to necessarily be in the home services. Like you are positioned to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
whether it's reach a career goal that they never thought they could reach, those are my favorite stories where that's what when contractors shift their mindsets to this is just a place that I can facilitate like dreams being achieved for these people that never thought possible before. Like when their technician sets a goal that he's going to sell a certain amount so that he can buy his dream truck, or the CSR sets a goal that she's going to sell enough maintenance memberships over the phone to pay off her house payment. So it's just like, man, when you see that like this is the opportunity for you to help and love on people, you just happen to do it through, in this case, like HVAC or plumbing, for me, it's through marketing. So I really love getting to help my contractors. They're all friends, which is super, super fun. So if I get the opportunity to make more friends, that's really just what I'm looking for. So, so if somebody wants to get in touch, my website, picktruenorth.com has my contact information, but I'm also not shy. So if you want to email me, McKena, MCKENA at picktruenorth.com, then I'll be here ready to help however I can. So,
and I will make sure to include all that stuff in the show notes. So anybody listening, if you click on depending on if you're on YouTube or on one of the podcast platforms, it will be in either the description of the YouTube or down in the show notes. So it will be very easy to get her information. McKena, thank you so much for coming and hanging out.
Thanks for having me. Anytime, again, that imposter syndrome, when I get asked to do podcasts, I'm like, me? Little old me? So thank you for having me. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. Thank you for being awesome and amazing and really helping contractors. It's so great. But thank you so much. And congrats on the baby.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.